Welcome to the Depth Perception Podcast.
We go in depth about the perception and misconceptions of optometry,
which include the business of optometry,
social issues within optometry,
and life as an optometry student.
Coming straight from Dr. Jasdeep Singh Soni,
Dr. Nadia Afghami,
Dr. Douglas Akiti,
and Dr. Svetlana Nunez. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Well, hear ye. Today we're actually doing something fun. We have a very special guest here, and we're going to be doing a MythBuster style kind of episode. And it's going to be about presbyopia drops because they're everywhere right now. And we just, we're just hearing some hesitation from some doctors.
So instead of dancing around them, we're going to put those myths to the side and we're going to put them right on the table in front of us.
So we're going to have our special guest introduce himself and tell us what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. My name is Dr. Mark Schaeffer. I practice in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm actually a second-generation optometrist, so I'd like to say that I was born in an exam lane. I've been in this industry for 41 years. And yes, I am going through presbyopia. So not just a doctor prescribing stuff for it, but actively going through this process. My brother's an optometrist. My sister also an optometrist. So we have a lot of fun family conversations at dinner about presbyopia drops now. And so now I practice at My Eye Doctor. It's a private equity group out of Birmingham. So I see diapers to diapers. Tomorrow I have a 0-year-old on my schedule. And then I saw a patient that was 94 today. Anything and everything that can walk in the door, I'm taking care of. And so now we have new options that allow us to treat some of our patients that maybe didn't want glasses and maybe don't want to wear contact lenses all the time and want to have that flexibility. And now it's important for us to have this discussion because we have great options that allow for us to have a prescription so that patients can see maybe without reliance on reading glasses or progressives or contact lenses. So giving us that opportunity, we need to understand what things aren't true and what things are actually true in regards to presbyopia drops and how we can best take care of our patients.
Yeah, you were talking about mentorship before when we were chatting, and I just need to just come over, it sounds like, because you're just a whole family of just have some, some dinner. We'll just chit chat about optometry.
Absolutely. Just all three of us have very different styles in how we practice and what we take care of, but generally we all want to do what's best for our patients. Again, being in this industry for 41 years, you get to see the evolution of eye care and what's old is new again. And kind of seeing that, especially with a molecule like pilocarpine that we're going to talk about in depth today. It used to be the only thing we would use to treat glaucoma. Now it's come back as more of an aesthetic use, something that we can use to kind of help, again, reduce our reliance on reading glasses so that patients can have that luxury of choice so they can wear glasses or use a drop or wear their contact lenses with that greater flexibility.
Yeah, for sure. And I know there's a lot of myths. We're going to try to hit like the 3 biggest myths today. And I think the one I hear the most is like how people are worried about like the side effects, because it's always the first concern, right? Like as soon as we say like miotic or it changes your pupil size, people just kind of like tend to like tense up a little bit.
Yeah, we got the headaches, we have eye strain, we have changes in night vision. Those are the fears we hear most often. What's your take on that, Dr. S?
Yeah, I think it really starts with education, right? And I think the biggest thing that we want to know about and talk about is what to expect. And I think when we look at the clinical trials from Qlosi especially, what we see is that headaches are under 10%. They're also transient. They tend to go away as time goes on, but we need to educate our patients. The other thing when you think about this is when we look at the clinical trials, we're asking them to read up close using a drop. Now, if they don't have a drop, what's the likelihood that they're going to have headaches, especially while they're struggling and straining? So when we think about headaches, when we think about our typical pilocarpine, we tend to see higher numbers in this. But when you look at Qlosi's data, it's less than 10%. They tend, again, to be transient. They tend to go away. They tend to not recur, especially as we use the drop. Same thing with fluctuating vision with nighttime vision. Again, the more we neuro adapt to this, the better off that we are. We don't expect our progressive lens wearers the first time they put it on to be like, this is the most perfect thing I've ever seen. And if they don't have those issues, or if they do say, well, this isn't clear, that we're like, okay, well, I guess progressives aren't an option for patients, right? Like we don't do that in our exam lanes and our opticals. So how can we expect a drop to work the first time every time? But we see this data shows time and time again that we're getting patients to 20/40, that we're getting them comfortable living, that we're getting them this quality of life that they didn't otherwise have with glasses, contact lenses, or even refractive.
Yeah, that's a big game changer. And when I hear these like single digit side effects, it really kind of like changes that conversation that I'm having with patients, especially when like their headaches are the most common. And I think that's a good point. Like, were they having headaches before, like straining and all that? So I just think it's great that we are able to kind of provide something that gets the patient 20/40. And it's interesting that they found that in the clinical trials as well.
Yeah. And again, it's concentration dependent, right? We're starting to see some of these studies, and there's actually new data that we're seeing that shows, and we'll get to kind of the ciliary muscle thickness, but there's some studies that show that because it's 0.4%, we're lower than any other dose that's out there when you're talking about miotics, right? It's the lowest concentration that's available. And we're seeing it compare to a balanced saline solution when it comes to changing the ciliary muscle. So if you think about that in terms of headaches, right, when we have pilocarpine, when we're moving that muscle a lot, and we see that in dose dependent forms, right? 2% in the clinical study that they had, we see that that moves. And so that can cause some of that. So that pupil selective modification, or that pupil selective drop, is really going to work for making that pupil as small as possible in order to give us those benefits for up close, and kind of find that sweet spot.
Yeah. And clinically still, I mean, we're still kind of checking the periphery. We're making sure the eye health is doing well. I mean, we still are doing like good exams. It's not like we're kind of sweeping the presbyopia under the rug and just giving the drop, because we're still making sure the overall health is doing well.
Yeah, we still have to check the retina, right? Like at the very first thing that we're doing before we even get to recommending these products is making sure that we've done our job for any miotic to make sure the back of the eye looks healthy, right? Any side effects that are related to this, if we see any pre-existing retinal conditions, we need to make sure that we're educating our patients as to why it's not a good fit for them, right? Because we have seen signs. We do know that this drop can have effect on the back of the eyes with any myop across the board. If we know that, again, that's educating our patients and giving them the tools to know this is why I'm not a good candidate, right? I think what we saw in the early days was with presbyopia drops is that anybody could write it, right? And so it gave us a little bit more pause because we're starting to see some of these side effects reported. Now that we have the ability for us to really look at the back of the eye, to really educate our patients, we're seeing these numbers in report go down overall, and we're starting to see doctors be in charge of this, right? Because of when we're in charge of writing the prescription, when we're educating our patients, it's going to give them the best opportunity for success.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little role play here. On the Depth Perception podcast, our audience and our listeners, they're the young optometrists.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly. So if we're young ODs, I mean, we were just talking earlier, I just graduated from school. What's a way that I could educate my patient? And let's say I'm the patient, you're the doc. I know you are a doc. We're playing role play, but I'm the patient today. And I'm worried about side effects. To close myth number one, what would you tell me if I'm sitting in your chair?
Yeah. So, Svetlana, I'm really excited to talk to you about your options, right? So, now that you've crossed into your 40s, you look amazing, by the way, for crossing into your 40s, right? You look fantastic. Whatever you're doing, keep doing. But now we have some options for us, right? And so, we can prescribe glasses that will give you both far away and up close. We can go over contact lenses that I think you'd be a great candidate for. And now we have a new category of drops that's designed to shrink the pupil to give us a depth of focus so that we can help reduce your reliance on glasses. And that's when I give you the opportunity to say, oh, tell me more about these drops, right? Because everybody knows a little bit about glasses and contact lenses. And it gives us that opportunity to really shine about, listen, my job is to make your life functional, right? When we see Qlosi's data, we saw 20/40 improvement in 80% of patients, right? So patients are getting better than 20/40 vision binocularly. So we know that that's functional vision that they can roll. It may not be as perfect as our glasses, but our job is to make you more functional. And so because of that, there may be some side effects that you may experience during the first couple of weeks while you're using this drop and getting used to it. Know that the more that you take it, the less we see this. But the three biggest ones that we typically see are headaches, right? And they tend to be on the front of the eye. they tend to be mild and they tend to go away the more you take this medication. The second thing that we can see is like a dimming effect because we're shrinking the pupil. But again, it shouldn't last very long. And the more you use it, the better it gets. And then there are some burning and stinging that can be in the miotics. The formulation of Qlosi is designed with HA and HPMC, which is designed to be more tolerable and help with tolerability. And so that IQ formulation is designed to be as comfortable as possible. But pilocarpine itself is very basic, right? So it's a low pH. So we've got to do a lot to try to make it as comfortable as possible. So that's kind of the spiel, right? That's it, right? I'm going to send you a prescription in. I want you to use it every day for 7 days, and you're going to find out where it works best for you. And I think that's the easiest way. Is our job is to make it easy for the patient. Use it and see how it does in the real world and really evaluate it. And then you're going to tell me where it works and where it doesn't. And that's where I've had the greatest return from these patients, is what they're telling me they're using it for. So like whether they're using it for mahjong or pickleball or playing golf because it lasts a perfect amount of time for a round, that's when they're using it. Or I have 4-hour blocks where I'm in front of a computer screen, and that's a great opportunity for me to use it. Having that flexibility, that's the key, and leaning into that flexibility, because the side effects really go away the more you use it. And kind of we can lean into that a little bit because we have the data to support.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's exactly what Myth 2 was going to be about. It's going to be like, I'm waiting for my patient to ask, right? And sometimes, like you said, like there's so many good options now, and this is just another great option for the patients. So I think everything you said is valid, and including like we just have to be like proactive with like bringing it up for the most part.
Sometimes patients don't know exactly what to ask for, especially when it's something new. But going back to your point earlier, when you were already hitting on myth number 2, is saying that the flexibility, right, for patients, and like which area of the patient's life does it work best for them, whether that was golf. I really liked those examples, and I think we can use that in clinic when we're talking to our patients.
Yeah, I think about it like middle school, right? I know I went to middle school like probably 20 years before y'all did. But like you think about those middle school dances where like the girls are on one side and the boys are on another, and like somebody's waiting for somebody to make the first move. It's like that's what this category kind of feels like, is that patients don't know what's out there, right? I like to say that patients don't know what they don't know. And like, especially when we come to contact lenses or dry eye disease or glaucoma or cataracts, everything that's out there, our patients are coming to us because we're their experts. Whether you've been out for a year or been out for 35 years, you're their expert, period, right? They don't know what you know and what you don't know. And so it's important for us to really lay out the options for them and kind of walk them through it. And that chair time seems like it's a waste of time because you're talking about all of these different options. Like it's really not there, because what you're doing is educating your patients and kind of flexing your knowledge. And by doing that, it's a valuable investment because that patient's going to remember, hey, Dr. Nunez really took the time to go through all of my options with me. So I know she's going to give me a comprehensive exam next year when I come back. The problem is we want to like fly through these exams because we're like mentally rushed, right? Dr. Nadia has been like, I got 19 things in my checklist going on right now in my head. Like I can't focus on the 4 things I need to do in this exam room. I get it. We all get that. But every single patient that comes in to see you, every single comprehensive exam, they're depending on you for their vision for the next 12 months if we're lucky, right? If they come back for their annual exam on time, how they experience the world is their 20 minutes with you. And so that to me is the thing that I keep coming back to, is like what makes it so important that we talk about everything for these patients. Because the last thing you want, especially if you're a new doctor, is the patient leaves and then finds out about a technology about eye care from somebody who is not an eye care professional.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like just asking the right questions, spending an extra 5 minutes with your patients is so important because it makes you stand out, right? They're coming to you for, advice and a service, and you're there to listen to what their needs are, They could be in the best multifocal contact, but it might not be working for them. So you need to ask the right questions. What are you using it for? Like, hey, you have this option. So yeah, I think it's a great take on how to like kind of bring it up first. It's important to, there's so much new technology, right? And sometimes you're right, like patients don't quite know about that. And I think it's a big appreciation when you take that little extra time.
Yeah, let me ask y'all, like, because I don't have this problem anymore. Like, do you have a problem if a patient says no to you for like an option?
No,
No.
I don't feel
Okay.
that way.
Because sometimes it feels like I don't want them to reject me for what I'm asking them to do, right? We want to be people pleasers as optometrists generally, but like I think that's the thing that we need to get over is like waiting for our patients to say something to us and like give them the opportunity to say no. I can't tell you
Yeah.
how many patients who I think these are slam dunk options for, and they're like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, okay, like can't make you do anything.
I think the education there is important too, right? Because sometimes I'm like, how long has it been since they dilated your eyes? And they'll be like 5 years. And you'll be like, well, can I dilate you now? And they'll say no. And then you have to kind of be like, this is why it's important, and all that stuff. So I think the education behind it, right? Like, hey, why not? Basically, like, and then that kind of helps you in the next patient because now okay, they're thinking this. And then you kind of use that to your advantage in the future.
So we're talking about myth number 2, with not waiting for patients to ask and to bring it up. So let's say I'm going to give you what I'm doing in clinic. Let's say that I'm seeing a 30-year-old, and usually a 30-year-old are hyperopic. They've never worn glasses. They come in, the 20/20 retina's healthy, right? And then I tell them, hey, you don't need distance glasses. You don't need reading glasses. Let's say they work on the computer a lot. They have some eye strain. Hey, maybe we'll do computer glasses today. And then I always say this. I'm like, hey, okay, maybe when you're 40, 45, hyperopic patient, you might need reading glasses. Should I start mentioning myotic drops at this point? Or when do you usually mention your myotic drops? Do you kind of mention it like, hey, this is an option in 5 years to your younger patients? Or is this something you just bring up to like your 40-year-old patients already wearing reading glasses?
I think for me, like the biggest thing is letting them know what's going to happen and then leaving the door open. Because if they're 30, who knows what presbyopic correction is going to look like in 8 to 10 years, right? Like we don't know what we're going to be able to have based off of what's out there right now, right? If you were to say 10 years ago, all right, predict what the contact lens market or dry eye landscape looks like in 10 years, you'd have been wrong. I'd have been wrong, right? And like I've been doing this for a while. So I think it's important for us to leave that door open, but let them know what to expect. So like, hey, around 40, you're going to start to notice this near vision. There's 2 ways that it kind of happens. I like literally had this conversation today with a 38-year-old. I was like, there's 2 ways it happens, right? Either your arm isn't long enough and I'm going to get you to an orthopedic surgeon to give you gadget arms, right? Go gadget arms. Or you're going to feel like you fell off a cliff and everything up close is blurry and you're going to call me thinking you're dying, right? Those are the 2 ways that it really feels like with these patients. And when we get there, know that there are options. Whether they're wearing contact lenses or wearing glasses or they don't have any correction at all, know that we've got options. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is predicting what's going to happen later on, right? Everybody knows somebody with reading glasses, whether they're the clip ones or like the 16 pairs on their heads, or I've got a purse pair, a computer pair, a car pair. Everybody has seen these reading glasses. So it's not like we're demystifying something like a disease process that no one's heard about. Everybody knows about reading glasses. So I think it's really easy for us to talk about this in a very proactive manner. Again, without taking a lot of time, but letting them know, hey, I'm going to remember Dr. Nadia because she told me about my reading and now it's happening. So let me go back to her.
Yeah, I like to pre-warn them like, hey, in a few years, you're going to be doing this. So it kind of brings us to our myth number 3, though, because you mentioned the reading glasses, right? Like it's nice to have and it's part of the optical sales. And I think this is like a fear that people have when they're trying to prescribe the drops. And maybe they don't say it out loud about like their optical sales kind of taking a little dent, possibly.
I'm one of the people that does it all. I'm wearing contact lenses. I've got glasses. I use the drops. And I think it's important when we talk about these options that they have flexibility, right? And what I have seen in my clinic is that patients who are using drops are purchasing other things too. And it's not an or situation where I'm going to use drops or glasses or contact lenses. I'm going to use all of these. And I think that's been my experience so far. And I actually I looked back at like my last 15 patients, and out of those, 75% of them bought a pair of glasses the same day that they got a script for Qlosi, right? Out of the like 3 or 4 that didn't, 2 of them had never bought glasses from us ever. They've been exam onlys their entire career of coming in, and the other person hadn't bought glasses in 3 years. So like for me, 75% of patients opting in to buy based off of now I have something else. I think there's some psychology there, but I want to hear about you, Dr. Nunez, and then I have some other pearls.
Yeah. I think what I wanted to share is that if we're worried about it hurting optical sales, I think we got to go back to like myth number 1 and 2 and talk about like our pitch, because it's not a pitch of replacing glasses. This
Mm-hmm.
is a pitch of flexibility and options and a team of
Mm-hmm.
glasses, contacts, drops. I really
Yeah,
like
I think so. Yeah, it has to be, right? It has to be a little bit of everything because the drops are great and they get us 80% are seeing better than 20/40, but it's not 100% getting to 20/20, right? And so until we have that as an option, we need to have the flexibility to do both. I think there's some psychology here. I don't have the data. It's just a feeling that I have from prescribing this and seeing it is if you're not fully dependent on the glasses, you're more likely to buy them. Like the people who are so resistant to it, it's like the moment I put on my glasses, is this going to be like I've got to wear glasses now forever? But if I have other options like contact lenses, like a drop that can buy me flexibility so that I can do tasks like singing choir on Sundays or playing bridge with my friends or doing these other things like going hiking so that I don't have to wear reading glasses while I'm looking at a map. These are all things that give us that opportunity to really flex our expertise, but letting patients experience the world in a variety of different ways. And that's the important key that we have. And now the glasses are for work and the drops are for fun. And that's kind of where we can be at for them. Or they can use the drops at work too, because we know that a second drop, we can get 8 to 9 hours of still seeing that up close vision improved upon beyond 20/40. So we have flexibility and we have options. And I think the psychology is there that like I don't have to depend on my glasses.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I kind of say an analogy where it's like glasses are like shoes, right? Like you can't use the same pair for any activity. Like I'm not going to wear my high heels and go jogging. So again, it's going back to that patient education, right? Like maybe the glasses are good for work, but when you're going out and you don't want to have it, it's nice to have a different option because, be like your running
Mhm.
shoes when you go running kind of thing, right? So I just think, again, just bringing it up and patient educating. And the other part is like normally do you see them back? This is a question I was going to ask earlier when we were kind of talking about the side effects too, to check the periphery of the retina and all that. So it's another medical visit, I'm guessing, correct?
Well, so it won't be a medical visit because you don't have a medical diagnosis to bill it to your medical insurance, right? Their chief complaint is a follow-up based off of a drop that's refractive in nature,
Mhm.
right? So when we bring them back, we do have an out-of-pocket, it's an office visit fee. Again, we're seeing them back to check their vision, make sure they're happy with it. And then if we need to, we can dilate or do any sort of peripheral retinal testing. But generally, it depends on how often they're going to use it, what they're using it for, what their eyes look like, the relationship that I've had with them for years. Have I seen them? Has they been perfectly healthy? Were they a post LASIK patient or a post pseudophakic patient? Looking at that retina and having that relationship. Again, as long as we're starting off with a dilated fundus evaluation and knowing that they are clear, I think that's the important key when we're talking about starting and then bringing them back on confidence. All right. So knowing that, hey, in 7 to 10 days, I can bring them back, check their near vision, see how it's doing for them, and address any other concerns. Having that flexibility in that space is really important to have. Not all of my patients are coming back for that 7 to 10 visit day, but we live in a world where not everybody wants to show up all the time. So I'm okay with it. I just giving them that space is important.
Yeah, again, it's like when you feel like you're solving a problem for them, they feel like more trustworthy towards you. Like, oh, wow, nobody's ever
Mhm.
told me about this before. Nobody's ever checked that, or nobody's ever told me about all of the new things that I could do. Like, yeah, I'd really like it for dinner, or, with my husband. Or, yeah, sometimes I don't want to wear it playing sports. It's nice to kind of have the different options that kind of builds
Mhm.
that relationship with your patients in chair. And then they come back every year and then your sales go up.
What's not to love, right?
Are you also, so, you're very educated about it, but do you also use the drop yourself?
I do. I do. So I will put it in, like I get to clinic. My clinic day starts at 9 a.m. I will put it in before my first patient, just so that by the time my mid morning, then I'll put in the second drop and I'll be able to get to the end of the day. I don't use any correction on the weekends. It's just going from iPad or slit lamp to iPad. That's where I noticed it first at 38 because I'm also late and hypero. So yay me.
Yeah.
Um, that was when I noticed it first, and
Even
I was like,
better.
"Ah, crap! Here it comes! Here it
Yeah.
comes!" So I went to glasses. Was going glasses on, glasses off was a little frustrating. Contact lenses are good. I'm doing well in these. I'm wearing a multifocal, low ads in both now. I've graduated
Okay.
from single vision to an ad. But with the drops, when they came out, I was like, this seems like a great option because now I don't have to worry about a contact lens in my eye. You can just get to clinic, put in a drop, put in another drop. I don't have to worry about the side effects of redness or irritation. It's working really well. And I'm really happy with it because I don't have to have anything else in my eye.
Yeah. No, I
It's
love
helpful.
that. I love that you're here with us sharing how it helps you, sharing how it helps your patients. I think really focusing on the flexibility and determining, hey, glasses are for this, contacts are for this, and my miotic drops are for this. I think today we really tackled our 3 myths and debunked them. We talked about myth number 1, where I'm worried about side effects. Number 2, I'm waiting for patients to ask. And then number 3, this will hurt my optical sales. I can't believe we got through all 3 of them. I've learned a lot. I know the audience has learned a lot. So this has been great.
No, thank you guys so much for having me. This is always a lot of fun. I talk about eyes all day, every day, and I feel like I could continue to talk about eyes all day, every day. And it's really great because this is my story, right? Like I'm using everything and impacting my optical in a positive way at the same time.
Yeah, it's great, especially for the new grads out there who, it's like we're still learning something every day. And I think just learning to talk to patients about these kinds of options is so important because if they're not presbyopic, obviously they know someone who probably is.
Yeah. And again, it's about finding your confidence, understanding the science, and being able to prescribe with confidence and being that expert and recommending a therapy, whether it's out of pocket, whether it's out of your control. Again, it's something that we want to make sure that our patients understand because when we're in charge of the education, our patients always do better than if somebody else is in charge of that education. So taking that ownership role, really taking the charge and like really educating our patients is the best like advocacy and best professional help you can do for yourself is showing that you have these chops basically.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that we started off before we started recording. We were saying, hey, we signed up to be in a field that we're always learning. And I think today proved that.
Yeah, we definitely enjoyed having you on. It sounds like we should have you on again for other things. It's like we love talking to you, Dr. Schaeffer. It was great.
I'm usually available. I just have to do it after my kids go to bed. So, as long as
I
they're
understand.
asleep, it's very important. Everybody needs their sleep.
I'll write that down for, future.
The schedule is important.
Okay, I'll remember that. Well, thank you so much. We loved having you, and I hope this was a great, education for our listeners so they can get on that. Don't wait for your patients to ask.
Thank you
We'll
guys
see you
for
guys.
listening.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Depth Perception Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all of our platforms, including
Spotify,
Instagram,
Google Podcast,
Apple Podcast.
YouTube. Make sure you click that button. Double tap that.
So you guys have no reason not to follow us and tune in to the next episode.
Stop wasting time.
Get in depth.
Subscribe.